would like to also see, because to see where you can also empower maybe human-centered design in your own company or organization. So let's start. So the famous example in human-centered design is the 3 Mile Island accident. This accident was about a partial meltdown of a reactor in '79, and radiation leaked that took 14 years of cleanup afterwards. So many experts were involved, and it turned out during the operation that the bad design can come down to only one crucial light indicator that was not read correctly. So in the story, the workers were blamed for screwing up the technology while operating on it. So human-centered design goes, if you need to read a manual to understand how to use a technology, it's not a good design. It's not the fault of people, even if the understanding went wrong. It's not their fault. This is a central part of the human-centered design. Humans make mistakes. It's not their fault. Good design is allowing those mistakes. So designing with a human in mind is important. It allows people to get comfortable with the technology and not to worry about having done something wrong. You want your customers to be delighted with your design and for it to be easy, right? That they have fun, that this tech gives superpowers, it augments the abilities, people should be able to easily explore it without provoking the feeling that pressing one button can cause a nuclear meltdown. So human-centered design is about accepting the human condition that we all face or one day will face. That we aren't machines, we are chaotic, our bodies are chaotic, we are fragile, we are error-prone, and we will make mistakes. And that's why it's important to listen and to know your customers. That's the essence of empathy or design for that sake. Only listening actively and putting yourself in the shoes of your prospects, customers, you will be able to create for them beyond the shadow of your ego or beliefs. And one person who analyzed what happened was in that 3 Mile Island story was Don Norman. Probably you know him very well. He's a cognitive psychologist who became hugely influential in human-centered design. He wrote this book called Emotional Design, where he describes why people love or hate everyday things. Designers love that book, and I like to recommend it. He took his learnings from 3 Mile Island to Apple in the late 90s. And in the end of this slides, I will share with you several books that I will mention in this presentation. So he developed 3 fundamental layers of design, as you see on your screen. It's visceral design, behavioral design, and reflective design. So visceral design is subconscious, meaning it's not conscious anymore, but it's a memory made long ago and has been forgotten till the sensory receptors detect a similar pattern. So in your subconsciousness, those patterns are established as symbols, and through senses, we can activate and speak to the subconsciousness. And we can design those experiences which are fortified by the senses. Then those patterns, when they are activated, they bring back memories of previously experienced but maybe long forgotten emotions. For example, from your childhood. I don't know who of you saw Ratatouille movie, but you know when there is a moment when the guy is putting something in his mouth and he's transported back into beautiful memories of his childhood. So that kind of experience is finally what we want. So the experience that comes from sensory scan is never alone. It's the combination of lived experience layered with the new ones. So a strong connection can be triggered through senses because it's out of control of the one having the experience. And senses, together with gamification, are direct access to creativity. So in the industry, in design industry, of course, gamification have been widely researched and applied, and there are concepts like from Hero with Thousand Faces, the hero's journey, that has been applied widely also to the movie industries. And senses, this part is going to, it's starting to develop. There are some examples that I would like to show you. So this is an example for a Japanese beauty brand, SHISEIDO. It's quite recent. It's orchestrated around giving value through the senses, together with its new product Optune. So the new metaphoric skin cream adapts around the user on a daily basis. So how it works is that users are taking selfies on daily basis via the app that comes with it, and algorithm analyzes their skin and also takes into account environmental factors such as temperature, humidity, as well as the sleep data. This information is sent to a bespoke device which mixes the user an optimized skin cream matched to their daily needs. Another example is from an outwear brand, Canada Goose. So they invite customers into its experience called The Journey. It's an experiential store where people enter into a frozen dimension. Ice cracks under their feet, snow touches their faces, and the cold wind makes them feel that they are in the Arctic. And it's zero inventory, meaning you can only experience the product, but the purchases are made online. Many stores are considering closing most of their shops, reconverting themselves as showrooms. Even Decathlon in Belgium, when I met with one of their representatives, have told me recently about that. And the physical retail that will survive, that can convince customers to visit in person instead of just online, is often retail that offers a truly novel, memorable, shareable experience. So I'm curious to look up what other kinds of visit sensory immersive experience would companies start designing. Next level from Don Norman's 3 levels of design is behavior design. So it's when customers feel no obstacles or friction using the product. And it's how it functions and gets the job done, right? It should be easy from the first instance, familiar, so that it takes no time to master it. It's adapted to the intuitiveness. The feasibility and getting the job done is a must, right? And then you construct the rest of the delightness and the other experiences on top, right? To make it one experience. The demand is different nowadays. Customers are different in the age of internet. They've got empowered, they can get access to knowledge anytime at their fingertips. There is much less information asymmetry than even looking just 10 years back in 2008 when there was economical crisis. There is much less information asymmetry in that sense, but 5 decades ago, organizations were leading innovation. So in contrast to nowadays, because nowadays there is an overflow of information and overflow of choices. People in the street have high tech in their hands and are able to adapt more rapidly to change than many organizations actually and many organizations stay behind. Customers are rising heads. We gotta design around humanity. We gotta make it simpler, accessible, fast. Because if we don't provide that base, they will find it elsewhere. We need to become flexible and constantly up to date, transforming tech, transform it around human needs. The third layer in human-centered design is reflective design. It's the highest level of three-level model. At this level, we use information from both visceral and behavioral processing, those layers I've described. So in combination with our knowledge and experiences. Unlike the visceral and behavioral levels, here sensory information is filtered through the unconscious level of processing combined with the knowledge. So knowledge and senses and making a big experience, touching the meaningfulness. It influences our perspective and our thoughts as a result. At this level, sensory activation can lead people through transformative experiences. To tap into the reflective level successfully, we must investigate what users want from our product, not just in terms of how they intend to use them, but also how products enhance their lives, connect with others, and give meaning. Reaching all these three levels together is one of the hardest challenges currently in design, because accessing through senses to give transformative experience is something that we have not been putting that much attention to, and that's where we have to investigate to get to know what it means to really to be human, what is both our subconsciousness and consciousness together, right? We have been putting too much attention into developing tech, which is good, but so there we are now. But when speaking of addressing the pinnacle of transformative experiences, I like to refer to the Pine and Gilmer model for Phillips design. Probably you have seen it already. So as in Maslow hierarchy of needs that you might be familiar with, meaning and transformation are needs that stay repeatedly aimed at the top of the hierarchy through human development. So there are signs that the paradigm shift towards the transformation economy is already taking place. From the industrial economy, going from left in the model on your screen that you are looking at, we went to experience economy, where we saw the growth of services as a sector. Next, knowledge economy is a part of the experience economy, though it includes the fast-growing economic activities in the field of media, and it generates information instead of goods or services. The knowledge-based economy initiated the emergence of the transformation economy. Here, the transformation happens on a societal level. Further, we will view several examples in the slides where we can observe these transformation patterns happening now in the Western societies. If you would like to dive into the topic further, it's well described in Innovation Design book written by Elke den Ouden. I'm putting it in the end of the slides, her book, of his book. I don't know the Dutch names, I'm sorry. I will give you the reference to it. So. Now let's take the journey and see the examples of recent noteworthy trends happening around 6 European countries. This is an amazing library in Helsinki. UDI is one of the freest buildings in Finland, and the visitors can do many activities in it, take initiatives in what they want to do. It's a constantly learning and developing shared space for everyone. It has 3 floors and it's equipped with the latest tech and is freely accessible for the public. UDI was designed by ALA architects. The starting point was that the building should be a public, open to everyone, safe and free of charge space in the heart of the city. Visitors, the public, can host events, book movie theater, gaming facilities, use fabrication tools from the Fab Lab, design using graphic tablets, craft new clothing, make patterns. It also has an audiovisual recording studio, and of course, heaven of reading spaces. When I visited in March this year, I was astounded by the level of opportunity given to everyone to create, get inspired, and let imagination fly. There are cubicles where I saw families playing video games or just spending time together in these shared spaces. If you happen to be in Helsinki, I highly recommend visiting it. Yeah. And another example from Finland, Arctic Brands Group expect evolution of new pricing models that take customers' environmental impacts into account. So in October last year, Finland-based company, so this Brands Group, Arctic Brands Group, started construction of that blue resort, of the Arctic Blue Resort. And according to the schema, the guests could see their stay discounted by up to 50% because it would go into incentives for consuming less energy and making sustainable food choices. It's built from natural materials. The hotel will run on renewable energy sources. The opening is planned in 2 years from now in 2022, sorry. The next example emerged in December 2019, so last year, where Finland ended its tenure of the presidency of the Council of the European Union by announcing that online course about AI created by the University of Helsinki and Finland-based tech company Reactor would be made freely available to all EU citizens from this year. It's primarily to boost digital leadership of Europe and is available in all official EU languages. The elements of AI courses is intended to develop emerging skills as a priority. In the Netherlands, KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, has launched a global call to action on sustainable travel under the name Fly Responsibly. The campaign video asks a series of questions, including, do you always have to meet face-to-face? Could you take train instead? Or like, could you contribute by compensating your CO2 emissions or parking lightly? The airlines is stepping forward to ask the aviation industry as a whole and also individual travels to join forces to create a more sustainable future together. Effective from March 2020, the airlines partners for reseated flights with Thalys and Dutch Railways, high-speed train operators. So prior to the date, while booking the flights, the customers were asked if they would consider a high-speed train instead of daily flights. But now from March 2020, booking through them, through the airline was not anymore possible, like for flights Brussels, Amsterdam, for domestic flights that is a very close duration. I think by train it's around 2 hours, were possible only by train. So as in the next example, how about a tool that helps consumers track behavior and avoid eco-shame? Last year, Sweden-based fintech DOCONOMY partnered with MasterCard to offer a credit card that lets users track and limit their CO2 footprint. The DO MasterCard tracks the CO2 impact of purchases and blocks payments when the user exceeds their personal carbon emission budget. The card is fully biodegradable and is printed with air ink, and ink made from recycled air pollution particles. In January 2020, IKEA in Austria began construction of a new 7th store in Vienna, and it will have no parking for cars, with the only access possible by bicycles, foot, or public transport. The Vienna store will also feature a rooftop park that will be open to the public even when the store is closed. The park will be home to over 160 trees, and the top 2 floors of the building will host the Accor Hotel, in addition to other communal spaces that are yet to be announced. Meanwhile, in Italy, this year, in his editor letter, Vogue Italia, Emanuele Ferrenti revealed the resources used for the September 2019 issue photo shoots. So the biggest of the last year, the photo shooting was in September 2019. 150 people, about 20 flights, and 1,000 or so train journeys, 40 cars or on standby, 60 international deliveries, lights switched on for at least 10 hours non-stop, partly powered by gasoline-fueled generators, food waste from the catering services, plastic to wrap the garments, the electricity to recharge phones and cameras. So, the January 2020 edition sees Vogue being transparent, but also transforming what they have been doing. They have commissioned 8 artists to create illustrated covers depicting models wearing outfit from Gucci. And they have donated the money that was saved to in Venice, to one of the museums for restorations. In France, a new zero-waste e-commerce platform Loop partnered with Nestlé, PepsiCo, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and other household goods and launched in Paris after a successful piloting. The scheme is planned to roll out to other countries, to other Western countries for the moment. So in their plan, there was California, UK, Canada, Germany, and Japan. I haven't followed up on how they have been launched there, but I have tried the experience actually, and it's much better than usual delivery. It's a beautiful glass container that keeps the product fresh. And when you finish the product, you just put it aside for the package to be recovered. Through those examples, we see patterns of transformation that are emerging. We have seen innovations aimed for accessibility, ethics, sustainability, well-being, and this is only from the last year. Consumers are embracing sustainability as a service, empowered to track and reduce their planetary impact. Organizations are offering open source, transparent information so that they can develop trust or get the trust back from customers, and making ethical and community choices, reshaping all structures to transform the company identity. Outside of the presentation examples, also with the COVID-19 virus emergence, we have observed that the companies who continued the structure and who repurposed their products rapidly were flexible enough to embrace change, and they went thriving. Of course, they also had strong digital resources at hand, which was mentioned earlier to be quite of an importance nowadays. So where do we start human-centered design in our organizations, right? So start from your team. When we speak about human-centered design, we are not speaking only about prospects, customers, and outside of our industry people, but first of all, we also address the team. So human-centric design is important that everyone in your team is on the same level, understanding, because designing experience is not a job of one department. Everyone should have a mindset of customer centricity and consider user success in every task. Aside the digital transformation, support high initiatives, ensure that team's primary focus lays in customer needs and in customer success. So equipping teams with the vision that they need to constantly innovate and evolve in conversation with the customers will facilitate that innovation for the whole organization, because the innovation doesn't come from doing things the way that they have been always done. It's inspired by taking cues from outside your sphere or influence and seeing how things work in the real world according to the people who actually use your products, and how things are shaping, like with change, right? As with the virus example, as we have seen this month, so rapidly readapting. Tech trends will emerge and change. The key is to understand and anticipate customer needs. This can be traced back to one simple maximum. When business is human, customer insights drive innovation. Serving as an example for helping their team to stay up to date, the outdoor apparel brand The North Face announced recently that going forward, their designers will participate in Renewal Residency. So every 6 months, 5 of the team members will spend a week with Renewal Workshop. It's a company that helps brands gather used clothing, remix and repurpose it, even melding multiple items together to resell. The North Face goal is to emphasize with their customer needs towards sustainability. They help their team to develop that mindset so that during the design processes, they can expand possibilities to innovate around those needs. With the COVID-19, the concept of balance between people, planet, and profit has shown its importance even more. When speaking of transformation economy, it's not to go to yet another economic reform, keeping deeper problems under the blanket. It's rather taking responsibilities collectively and approaching holistically to equilibrate social, environmental, and economic dimensions. People, planet, profit, balanced mindset that needs to be restored for the well-being globally. When we speak of human-centered design, we should think of that balance in every aspect of a product or service. Finally, I would like to show you the books I've mentioned earlier. So in the middle, the one in the middle, I haven't mentioned that, but I really like that concept, Jobs to be Done. This book is by Jim Kalbach. It's a playbook. But primarily, Jobs to be Done is an outcome-driven innovation process, which was developed by Anthony Ulrich. And I really recommend you this book because it goes about aligning your markets, organizations, and strategy around customer needs and how to really drill down to the essence of those needs. What are the real jobs to be designed for, to be solved? And the other book is The Emotional Design from Don Norman that I have mentioned. And on your right, you see Innovation Design book. And so thank you everyone for your attention. I'm pleased to answer any questions if you have, or else reach me up for feedback through LinkedIn or anything.
Thank you very much, Dila. I liked very much personally the way you bring it all, and I think having followed several of the inspirational sessions, I think it's there are some new elements that were brought and underlined by your presentation. So I hope it's useful for everybody that was there today, and the others will listen to it through the YouTube channel, as I told you. Myself, I was also very much like educated in recent studies on the job to be done approach that I like very much, because it's it's something that I try to encourage corporate companies also to use as a kind of compass for their innovation journey. So we come a bit from the same school I see there. And I was writing recently an article about this COVID situation, and I was saying that it seems to be a real, it has of course a lot of like side settings, being we have lost many people, and it was a disaster for many healthcare people that really are still going through a difficult moment in terms of organization and workload. But if you put that aside, it has been a real accelerator of things that we thought would arrive in 10, 20 years, or that were maybe even impossible. And I hope that some of the changes or acceleration that it has produced will remain for long, because they have shown that we can reach and change our attitude and our behavior collectively all together. And like I told you recently, I did the experience to, instead of choosing for a plane Monday coming back from Poznan to Brussels, I took the train, and I must say that it was a perfect experience. And by the way, I have seen the difference in pollution or carbon effect between my plane and my train that is quite significant. So small little changes, but we all try to contribute. So I don't know if we have some colleagues in the room that have questions. I know that there is one person for sure that will have questions. So Vladimir, I leave you the mic already.
Thank
you. That Vladimir is writing something. Okay, say it please to us.
Good day, everyone. Hi. Thank you for the great lecture. And I think there are two questions that's really bothering me, especially when it's about human-centered design and other methodologies of project development. So the first question is, for me, in my reality, basically customer-centered design is not equal human-centered. You've already mentioned it, but for me, it is a great question of designers' responsibility and ethics. For some way, from the certain point, we as designers have a powerful anthropological systemical tools that can influence people's mind. And many brands can use these technologies to just gain profit, but not to, balance systems of the consumeristic approach and more, like nature care and people care approach. So what do you think on that? Aren't we building the most powerful nuke-like technology for designers that can be used to do more harm in a long time perspective than we can more harm than solve problems? Because solving some problems, we create another problems. And what do you think on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, it is in a way this debate and constant question that I also ask myself from time to time. But right now I'm working for a fintech, and in the beginning when I just joined, I had someone asking a question like saying, why do you work for a fintech company? Like, isn't this evil contributing to that, right? And what I think to that is that if we just lay back and don't do anything, it will be more contributing than trying to put yourself into trying to change something. So I try to approach rather saying, when I do contributions, I try to choose with whom I'm collaborating, but also I believe that we can change something. And yeah, yeah, sometimes it's very difficult, especially when it's a huge organization and you are only a designer. But luckily, I mean, that's why I was talking about custom experience. I like mixing the human centricity in there, because I think we all have to shift towards that mindset, and organizations as well. And yeah, and I hope that we will arrive there. I really hope so. And yeah, and as designers, I think contribution that we can do is that like little by little, wherever we can, to improve. And from what we are seeing is also now the customer is the answer. I mean, I don't want to say dictator, king, so that helps, because we can design for the better of the well-being of the customer. So it's not just for buying anymore. Also, that's what I was speaking about. But now you see there is a transition between different states, I think. So I'm hoping that we are going out of that consumerism part and entering into something that would be a little bit more ethical. So I hope to contribute into that. But you are right that for many times designers is a partially like have been designing things that are not totally ethical.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. As for me, I more and more thinking about that we maybe must include some ethical parts to the any documents and tools that we share that contain such technologies. But that's, I think, more like a precautious mindset. But maybe it is time. And I also have other questions, if you mind.
Sure.
The second one is recently I found a publication on Medium that not just criticize design thinking and human-centered design, but it's like a scientific hate speech of an anthropologist that just destroys everything with absolutely hateful statements that he based on some bias, but have some sense. And I saw a great problem, which he stated, but I think he's some kind of right. Why we hear so little about failure of the human-centered and design thinking and disruptive design and systemic design projects? The author of the publication stated that we know almost nothing about the cases where such methodologies failed, and I think he's right. It is yes, all of these methodologies are iterative, so we can work on mistakes and go for another iteration and better and better and better in projects. But somehow I was specifically searching for the failures, and there is really a little publicated or stated or mentioned in any speeches, in any documents, in any statistics that these methodologies somehow failed, or some projects wasn't launched because of some mistakes that were happened during the development of the projects with the methodology of human-centered design or design thinking. Basically, he was talking about design thinking as basic methodology and human-centered design as more like worldview and mindset perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think on that? That my opinion is maybe we start talk about failures also. Thank you.
Yeah, we learn from the failures the most, so we should speak about failures. Yeah, I believe that also when we were speaking about earlier about different economies, right? Industrial economy and
Yeah.
then transitioning to knowledge, etc. They were saying now we have to transit to transformation economy and partially recover the failures from the industrial economy. And so I was thinking, of course, that there are failures, but probably we see them afterwards, because sometimes it's hard to see when you are inside the vortex, if you will.
Yeah.
But once that you move on, maybe we will be, saying, oh, now we have this new thing. Actually, that thing was not right and stuff, which is happening with the human-centered design, because, well, yeah, and it has been speaking, well, I mean, in designers world, they have been speaking about it. I mean, activists already more than a year, already 2 years back, I have already heard, there was this convention, I think what was the convention? There was this letter that designers had to sign saying like that there were exact concepts that they didn't agree, and then also about human-centric design. So it's not about, they were saying, it's not about human-centric design, it's about humanity-centric design, which is changing. But it keeps changing every time, I feel, because first it was this user-centric design where, you are like, I mean, you are a glue between the technology and people, and then it's evolving into experience, and then it's growing and growing more, and then there are so many perspectives into it. And so answering to your question, the human-centric design is shown to be failing and to start to be outdating. Now we will see humanity-centric design, which will be probably equilibrating more between people, planet, and profit. And again, now it has shaped a lot. Now it's not anymore just in the department of design to think of that, but it's rather became all the on all the product level, on all the marketing level, right? So,
I know that it's basically one of the most dominating methodological tool sets that dominating the market and approaches to develop different kind of projects. Basically, I'm working to unite main of them into something new in the universal methodology, and I think there are perspectives here.
good luck.
Thank you for the answers. If you don't mind, I will add you on the LinkedIn. I think we have a little more to talk about. Thank you.
Happy to speak more. Please connect and we discuss. I'm also working on this part of in the beginning I've mentioned about the senses. So so I have been studying senses in a different department where it's not really related to the corporate world. So in a way, adding to what you just have said, I was also trying to draw, in a way, correlation, because we always have this part that we can improve, right? And so I think that could be the part that we should add to the equation, right? Understanding more the human, because I think right now there is a big lack there.
Yes, and I see also a problem in because most people think or human or humanity-centered way or systemic-centered way, systems-centered way, and basically it's like connecting these separate worldviews into something coherent to be present and to be used. Thank you again for the lecture and for inspiration. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, sir.
Okay, friends, somebody else? Do you have questions for presentation or something like? Okay, then I do. I have a question for you, Dilnoza. You showed us that great idea with the Finnish hotel that estimate the price of the stain accordingly to the carbon footprint of
Yeah.
the participants. Yeah, but I have practical question. How do they count this carbon footprint?
I don't know.
Maybe,
Honestly.
maybe it's just the number of days the participants are staying in the hotel.
Well, probably because they were mentioning about the food also, so about the electricity, energy. So probably they have like maybe they will have the choice because it's not released yet. We can only guess, but yeah. From what they have said, I understand that they give you the choice, and by the end of your stay, you see what you have consumed, right? So maybe the choices between sustainable options, like maybe you have a shower in the nature, instead of having a shower in a cozy room, or maybe you don't have the same light, maybe you have to work for your light on a bicycle. I don't know, we will see when it's released, but it's an interesting concept.
Yes, the concept is just brilliant, and I would like to know more about that. The ideas are great, but for estimation of these ideas, we need to have the precise instruments to understand the deepness and profound of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay, guys. Someone, I see that somebody is writing some links. Okay.
Probably I would like to ask if possible.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to ask about some prediction, whole situation connected with COVID, how it can have some influence on design, and probably could you make some prediction about it, because previous approach was about gather people together and make some public spaces, but now we get some situation when people need to be divided and something like this, to look at each other through the screen, or something like this. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need to, I mean, as I understand, you are speaking about like working, designing collectively, something like that. Yeah.
No. I mean that how it can be some probably approach in design can be changed by situation.
Yeah. So one approach that I have noticed that changed a lot is the research part, because we need to, I mean, I am also doing the research constantly with the users. If before we were inviting them inside the building and inviting them to co-create or to ask questions directly and to be observing while they're using our products. Now it had to shift everything online, but luckily there are lots of tools online. Sometimes it takes time to find the right ones, but there is this user Zoom that I have been using, or several other tools that I'm still trying different tools in order to balance that part. But there is a challenge in there, and also but through conversations you can have the same. The one of the plus sides was that I can invite as many people as I want live to the sessions. So as you know, for better communication about the user needs inside your company, it's good to invite more stakeholders. So in this case, you can just make a link, shareable link, and anyone that wants can pop inside the meetings, see the users and hear what they are saying. Of course, they cannot intervene, but they are observing. And afterwards, the recordings, the videos, the screenshots, like there is a tool that can directly show what user is seeing on his screen. So those kind of tools have been really, really valuable. So yeah, it's transitioning totally online, but that's what that's the thing. We have to be. That's why I was saying in one of the slides that we have to be ready digitally. Yes, sometimes if some people in the organization cannot use the tool, then we cannot be like totally efficient, and sometimes we have to take extra time in order to investigate a tool that is correct for what we need to deliver. But yeah, rather than that, nothing much changed, because now we have a design team that is one guy is stuck in Moscow, and other one, others in different places. So we constantly speak online, and we have our processes established in Jira, in other parts. So it's not really, through tools, it's not very difficult. The rest, just the only difficult part for me was the dealing with the users, because I like to invite them, speak with them directly, get feedback. In this case, I had to reschedule everything online. But then again, there are lots of other tools. So when you start merging different insights together, like analytics, quantitative data, and then also the qualitative, then it makes sense, and sometimes it saves you time as well, because you don't have to commute, you don't have to go somewhere. You can just have everything in one place at the reach of your fingertips. And for predictions for future,
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, I guess we're gonna go more and more digital.
Yeah.
Well, I think that people can meet each other just to have fun and to have pleasure, and all the other things we can do just through Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. Are there still other questions, or shall we relieve Dila?
Yeah, we will give relief in a minute. We just need to say that this presentation was really great, because I saw a lot of examples, really great examples about the design of the future, and design of the mindset maybe. And yeah, it's very valuable for us. And thank you, Dilnoza.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much to everybody. And we see each other not on Zoom in a few minutes, but in real life. And hopefully we're going to do the same with the Kiev friends as well, as soon as we can. Okay?
Yes, we hope so.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.